Sit. In today's video, I'm going to be going over 8 steps to shooting an interview documentary style. It is currently Wednesday, March 20th, 11:13. For example, something I'm learning is composition, aka rule of thirds. So if I put a grid up, all of my body parts will be in a specific grid. With certain talking heads, you want them on this portion of the grid or like in this frame or whatever, but super close. Since mine is like a vlog style, I'm just like back here. I want y'all to soak up the environment because everything doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to make it perfect, if that makes sense. So something that I am learning, just trying to incorporate certain things I'm learning so I can teach you guys the same things that I'm learning. You guys and girls, the same things that I am learning, right? So throughout this video, I am going to be trying my hardest to apply some of the compositions that I've learned, to apply certain lighting things, and just to apply certain things overall. And then I'm gonna have, after my entire documentary series of when I study everything I want to study and I understand and master it, I'm going to create video breakdown of the things that I apply. The 2 documentaries before this, it wasn't nothing applied that I did. I just was testing some stuff out, trying to get a feel for it. But I believe in myself. I believe I could do this, and I know I can, you know? So I'm going to teach you the same things I am learning so we can all learn together, and so it can instill in my brain more that I actually am understanding when I'm learning, right? Instead of just, hey, it's like, hey, you know? And then I'm producing this creativity. I am producing all of this amazing content, and I am producing great things, not only for y'all, not only for my mentors, but also for myself. Thank y'all so much for watching. Enjoy the video, enjoy the documentary. Any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Any concerns, any compliments, any whatever you want to say, leave them in the comment section. I'll reply to every last one of them. Y'all are gonna see me a little later. I'm gonna see y'all a little later. Y'all are gonna see me in literally a millisecond because it's gonna be like hard cut, next scene, right? Also stuff I'm learning as well, by the way. I told y'all, I'd be learning. I just have to be better at applying it, right? So, Jane.
You through my 8 steps to setting up an interview in our second location. All right, so step 1 to shooting an interview is the location, choosing where you're going to be filming the interview. We talked about this a little bit already, but because this is a mini documentary talking about renovating a home, I wanted the interviews to be in a home setting. So the location should reflect in some way what your subject matter is. For example, Last Dance, a documentary about the Chicago Bulls. They're interviewing Michael Jordan and they're interviewing him in his home. So usually the location has something to do with the subject matter. If you're interviewing a specific person in an intimate setting, then doing it at their home might make sense. My subject and the background. So the 2 main spots that I'm noticing that I'll probably want to shoot in is something right here where we have the depth of the kitchen and the dining room and some leading lines coming down there. A lot of lights in here giving you some more leading lines. Another option might be looking this way into the main living room. Also have a pretty backdrop there. Not quite as many leading lines or depth in this one. So those are probably my main 2 options. I don't think I'm gonna look at the fridge. That's not necessarily something as aesthetic as these other options. I'm probably not gonna cram myself in the corner over here where it's a bunch of big windows, as then we're dealing with a lot of those. Mind that I'm gonna have Logan on the left side of the frame because I had Lex on the right side of the frame. And these are the only 2 interviews I'm doing for this mini documentary. And it would be nice to be able to cut between them and have them be on different parts of the frame so they cut nicely together, versus if they were both on one side of the frame and I ever wanted to use them back to back, it might look kind of like a jump cut. And that's called motivated lighting, meaning you're setting up artificial lights in a place that is motivated by an actual light. So I'm gonna put him. Okay, so for this shot, we probably want to hide that faucet back there. And so we'd probably go somewhere right around there, like so. And I'm feeling pretty good about it.
My entire location changed completely. It looks better. Got a light here, some backlights. You got the natural light, kind of like a field light. I'm wearing white and gray. I could have wore a dark shirt and the dark shirt would have made the light, like, I would have looked more solid. This might look a little blown out, but you can fix that in post a little bit. If you hear another voice, it's a guy in here. Public area. So this is the second location that I just wanted to switch it up because I had a refrigerator showing, I had a faucet showing, it was all bad. Especially if I want this to be a documentary kind of learning thing. But it's not like a documentary, it's kind of like a vlog documentary, just vlogging the process of the documentary that I'm learning. Just trying to apply some tips that some very, very intelligent people taught me, trying to incorporate some of them things as well. And for the composition that I want to instill right now is, number one, there are some leading lines. You have this one. You have this one in the corner behind me. That one in the corner behind me. You can't see it, it's a little off camera, like at the bottom. You have this leading line right here. Yeah. You got a ton of leading lines leading to a kind of a main point. That's why I want to wear white to be more standoutish. Also have balance diagonally. I am going to be up here. My face will feature, my structure is over on this side of the horizon. That side of the horizon diagonally is what I'm looking into. So let's say if I take a picture and I'm just on this side of the frame and I got all of this frame open, I need to fill this space with something so it could be balanced diagonally. Right now, it's not that much depth being created, but let's say I scoot this camera back like 5 feet and I come closer to the camera and have all this in the background. For example, this is creating depth. I am closer to the camera. There's a lot of space behind me to walk around, to do a jumping jack. There's a lot of space behind me that is creating depth. Depth in your videos, in your vlogs, in your documentaries, in your movies, in your short films is a better way to give the audience more composition, to switch up the viewer's experience on what they are watching. This is an example of having the subject on one side of the frame and leaving the other side completely empty. This shot is a close-up shot. The shot before I was using was a wide angle shot. It's good to establish location, portray emotion, and all of those good things. This is more for documentaries if you want to switch it up, have some talking heads within that said documentary, and also give your viewers a feel of whatever your documentary is. If it's telling something straightforward, if it's uplifting, had a camera angle down a little bit, and talk nicely, talk politely, speak up forth about something you're passionate about. This shot right here with my head and shoulders, it's called the tight frame. But if we can make this tight frame better, all we have to do is fill this empty space over here or sit directly in the middle of the frame. The thing with this shot is everything may be perfect. It's better to have a little bit of the head cut off and nothing near the mouth. The reason why is because if someone's watching your video, they're going to be watching your lips, watching your mouth move so they can understand exactly what you're saying. This is filling the frame. I am directly in the center. This is a perfect tight shot. Semi-perfect. And let me tell you why. Number one, yes, you may have people's heads cut off just a little bit. Never want to have their chin or mouth cut off, because when people are listening and watching a video telling important information that people want to watch and correctly understand. Backlight, the light that's coming in from outside, is a natural light that is not being controlled. You can control that of one or two ways. You can put gels on the windows, or you can use a polarizer/UV filter to make that light dim a little bit, to pop the back of me out and give me my shape. I have no key lights. There's nothing lighting my face or my subject up to make me stand out from the background. Right now you have been watching, and some of you may have realized that I am not well properly lit. I am on the darker side when it comes to not properly lighting a subject. You are properly lighting someone, you have a backlight to show the outline, you want to have a key light to light the face up, a softbox to keep the skin soft so it won't be too hard and blow out the skin or make blemishes or show wrinkles. Something that I want to teach you is how you can also fix this problem is using whatever resources you have. I'm not rich, famous, or wealthy yet, but I do own simple lights. So the way I can fix this is, all of my lights are upstairs, by the way. Putting the light in front of me, not too close, not too far, just a right perfect angle, turning it on and giving it a soft effect so it can brighten my face. This backdrop, this background of these natural lights that are beaming in, I can either put my UV filter on, or I can put a backlight, a field light, to take that natural light away and give me a harsh artificial light to push up against this wall. This wall isn't a wall, you can't see. Some people came in, but I finished the quiz up, and now we're gonna click our result breakdown, and we are going to check our 91%. Nice. Best way to fill your frame with the subject is to get closer. You can use a different lens. You can pull farther back and zoom in, but that's not gonna give that same depth of field that you could possibly get from a 35 and or 50, etc. So get closer to your subject. The best composition to give the image more depth is to lower your aperture, create some foreground, and leave the lines to highlight your subject. If I'm going to be honest, I have no idea how I got this question wrong. It was common sense that you don't want to shoot into the sun because it's golden hour. You want the goldenness to be on your subject. But they know better than me. I take the L. 91% is still a passing grade, so that's a W in my book. My battery got exhausted, so I had to come grab some new ones. But this is more so on the spectrum of how you would want to properly light your scene. Of course, I could do more with an actual direct light on me, do more with the backlight, a little bit more depth me from the wall to give you some contrasty feel, give you a better composition, to give you more three-dimensional feeling and not just sightseeing, right? And with this, for instance, if I was closer to the cam, created more depth in my background, had a hairlight slash backlight, highlighting this, giving me good lines on my jaw, and just a little bit of my shoulders, while keeping the key light on me, highlighting the main portion of what's gonna be keeping you engaged, and then maybe a field light if you need it. 600 Kelvin is probably enough. You don't want it too harsh. Too harsh is not good. It's gonna bring out the wrinkles in your face. It's gonna give you blemishes. You just want it a little bit soft. Soft lights create smooth facial features, no blemishes, no wrinkles, less of those things, so it's more appealing to the human eye. And because people don't like looking big in certain films, movies, etc., unless that's a look that they are trying to portray. So a common question photographers or videographers may get asked is, can you make me look less fat? And with that being said, how can you make someone look less fat while filming them? Is your soft light, your key light with your softbox. It's gonna be positioned a little bit higher than your subject, angled off to the right or left, and this is important. Always shoot from the dark side, meaning the camera is gonna be on the dark side of the subject, the light is gonna be on the other side. That is how you create a documentary feel, getting the dramatic effects correct without using split lighting. Split lighting would make it too dramatic, too cinematic-y, like it's a drama movie, and it isn't. It's a documentary. You film from the light side, it's gonna give it this super fun and jumpy kind of feel, and it's not gonna make you feel the emotion that's being put behind that said documentary. So, key light, softbox, a little bit up, a little bit over from your subject to highlight the important parts of the face, how you get rid of all of the fat from up under a person's chin. It creates a nice strong jawline light. I'm going to close these blinds and you're gonna see exactly what I mean by light filling the subject. And if you don't want it, you can use a cover, V-flats, any kind of flats, backdrops, or simply close the blinds. Yeah, that's not healthy. I am much darker Not literally, Gus. I've closed the blinds, which has made the natural light that was shining on me, brightening my image, go away. That's why I was talking to you guys about motivated lighting. It's just understanding your light source. As you can see, the lighting has changed. I am properly well lit, and I'm not even using softboxes, Godox lights, all the extracurricular. Literally all I did was flip the camera around from here to over here. This is most typical podcast formats when they are talking to said person. When you see them sitting in front of a camera, the camera is 45 degrees from them, 35 degrees from them, and then they're looking off at the said director who they're talking to while they're answering questions, and the podcast is capturing them. I'm gonna go over all of the notes that I have from Technical 101, Equipment 101, Cinematography 101. Once I go over this, I am gonna be starting my real estate, and that's gonna be teaching me real estate videos, how to do all of those good things. I'm not necessarily sure exactly what it's gonna teach me, but I'm pretty sure I know how it's gonna teach me. I think I said that right. Equipment 101. You learning what gear to buy. What do you plan to shoot, right? Because if you don't know what you're planning to shoot, why should you go out and just buy a camera? Unless you just want to point and shoot cameras, stuff, photo books, picture books, just for memories of you, your friends, families, loved ones, etc., right? So if you want this to be your career, if you want to take this serious, what do you plan on shooting? And why is that so important? It's because depending on what you're gonna shoot, it's gonna determine what you're gonna buy. For example, an A7S III is more photo related than the FX3. So if you wanna be a photographer and you buying a FX3, which is more of a video camera, cinema camera, it's not gonna give you all of those megapixels that you need in the picture, those headshot quality images, those whatever you're looking for if you want to be a photographer. But if you want to be a videographer, there's tons of other camera options that you can possibly get that focus more on video than photography other than the FX3. FX30, for example, only 1.7, does the same thing as the FX3, a little bit of the same thing. FX3 is just a better version, and it still produces high quality videos. It's not the camera you buy, it's how you use it. It's how you edit, it's how you have your lighting, it's how you bring audio into your videos, because all these things makes a video besides an expensive camera. Also lens, by the way, but I'll get on that in a moment. But if you wanted to be a hybrid shooter, the perfect camera for hybrid shooters, study says, and even my own research that I've done, is the Sony A7 IV. And the reason why I say my own research is because I am a photographer. I used to be a videographer when I was young because I really loved what I was able to do with a camera and how I can see life differently through a lens. The reason why some people want to be photographers and videographers now is because the monetary benefits. They're not doing it because they just love the game, they love the passion, they like cameras. They only know about cameras, they study cameras, they know how to use them, and they sound cool because they have to get out there to meet these clients so they can produce stuff for them. I came across tons of people who do not care about this industry. They just do it just because of the money. It's fine to each its own. I'm not gonna have my feelings hurt, but if you truly wanna do this, you have to be different. You have to want something different. You have to know who you are, what you're gonna shoot, and what you're looking for. My own research I did, I was a photographer before a videographer. And as I'm taking pictures, sometimes I wanna take videos in the middle of my shoots just to have versatility. Then I started doing my own research and I came across the A7 IV. I've been having my eyes on that camera for a while now. It's 2024, probably since 2021, 2022, But it's not about the quality of the camera you get, it's about what you can produce with the camera you already have. If you have one, don't feel obligated to go out there and buy the most expensive camera, because that brings me to my next point. Skills over gear. You can have You can have a red camera. That don't mean nothing. For example, there's a video out there, $10,000 camera for beginner versus $5,000 camera with an expert, or something along them lines. There's no such thing as having an expensive camera that's gonna make you good at something. You have to learn that camera. You have to get your skills. What do you see differently that the mass majority of people in this industry don't? Photography isn't about just the rules that you have to follow. It's about the rules you don't have to follow. That's what makes the creative person creative. Lighting isn't a necessity, it's a choice. Audio isn't a necessity, it's a choice, right? But those things can tie together a great film. There's 8 billion of us. At least one small billion is trying to be cinematographers, photographers, film directors, creators, etc., right? How can we be different? Next thing to consider when buying a camera. In the FTF course, he went over 25 things to consider when buying a camera. His 25 things. I'm gonna list all of them on the screen as I'm saying them, but I am going to talk about the top 5 or the ones that I personally pay attention to most. Budget, age, resolution, frame rate, sensor size, low light, color science, color depth, codecs and bitrate, dynamic range, autofocus, in-body image stabilization, rolling shutter, battery life, lens mount, audio capabilities, recording limit, dual recording, video tools, display screen, photo capabilities, reliability, ergonomics, ease of use, and accessories. The ones I do want to touch base on, and not because these are my top 5, it's just because when you are first buying a camera, or if you have a camera and it's not something that you wanted or helps you within your said realm of what you want to do, majority of cameras falls within 3 said budgets. You have a low end, a medium end, and a high end, right? A low end is anywhere that ranges from $500 to $1,000. Medium end, a range of cameras will fall in $1,000 to $2,500, let's just say that. Then a high end is $2,500 and anything up. The reason why I'm giving them these ranges is because you can find a pretty good camera that can cover all bases for $1,000 in the low end as a starter camera. Then once you finally understand what you're looking for, what you want to do, and how you want to be a creator, you want to jump into that middle end. This is where your A7 III, A7 IV, if you're a Sony person. I can't speak about nothing for Canon because unfortunately, fortunately, I'm not a Canon person. And within the course, yes, you can learn something from somebody else who doesn't shoot the same camera as you. Take the knowledge that you've learned and apply that knowledge within your own field to get your own results. Decent end camera, and the A7 III is also a hybrid camera, but it focuses more on pictures than video. A7 IV focuses more on video than picture, but it is the perfect hybrid camera because the picture resolution and the picture quality is also phenomenal. I've tried that camera out, still jealous. A7 III has a screen that only flips up a little bit. It doesn't flip all the way on top like a vlog camera. The A7 IV has a oscillating screen. You can open it this way, you could turn it, you can flip it all the way up, or you can flip it down. The best of both worlds. Those are 2 examples, not trying to go in depth, but you have the internet. The internet is free. Any questions you may have or you want to know about your said camera, feel free to look them up and do your own research. Write everything down / document it so you can find your own results, right? Age of camera. Age of camera is important because let's say your camera is 12 years old. You get a 12-year-old camera, the moment you buy it, that same camera comes out with the new, better version of that camera a week later, you're gonna feel like you wasted your money and time. So do research on how old your camera is. Are there any new cameras after that said brand? and then see if any more is coming out within the next 2 weeks to a year before you purchase that camera. Because if it is and you can wait, you can save up a little bit more to be able to purchase that when it drops. But if it isn't and you can't wait, then you just want to get a camera to produce something, do a little bit more research to see what else is out there that might be on the same par as your camera that you're looking at, or better, within the same price range so you can get your money's worth. Resolution, frame rate, sensor size, low light, everything else is within its own said name, right? The reason why I say that is because you don't want a camera that has 6 megapixels. Not gonna say that's not possible, but I'm not gonna say that is. Almost like a Polaroid. The more megapixels, the more frame rate your camera has, the more you can do with it. Whether it be higher quality, higher resolution photos, higher quality, higher resolution videos, or it can just be, I can capture things within its real time and or change my frame rate to get some slow-mo, to get some super slow-mo, to have 120 frames per second, so on and so forth. All cameras provide different things. You also have to do research into that to see what you are looking for, what type of shooter you're gonna be. Then look for those pros and cons within that shooter's list so you can see if your camera have that. Because you don't want to go buy a camera that can't help you with something that you need help with, right? I'm speaking to my video people now. If you want to be a videographer and you're trying to buy a camera, no matter what kind of videographer you are going to be, something that you want to keep in mind is in-body stabilization, right? And what I mean by that is your lens can have an in-body stabilization switch. Your camera can have an in-body stabilization mod within the menu. If your camera have that and you are taking some videos on a gimbal or with your hand, the camera is naturally going to stabilize that if it's selected to be on. But if your lens isn't a stabilization lens, but your camera is, it all depends, from what I learned, how far or heavy your lens is. Because, for example, my 85mm Zeiss Beta lens didn't have in-body stabilization, but my camera did. When I go to shoot videos, it's shaky even after stabilizing it in post the second time, only because the lens is trying to catch focus on everything. My focus wasn't correct, and it's not stabilized while I'm pushing. Only the camera was stabilized. A way to get around that, from what I found, was my smaller lens with optical steady stabilization, OSS, if you see it on your lens or on the box.
I don't feel anything.
So that's just from what I learned. Pay attention to your stabilizations so you can understand, and it can be easier for you to record videos and in post stabilize them if needs stabilizing. So pay attention to that when you're buying cameras. If your camera have in-body stabilization, that is definitely a pro for us video users. Photographers don't use it as much, but it's still a nice quirk to have within your camera for the pros and cons, right? And when you are buying your lens, make sure your lens have stabilizations as well. Even if you have a bigger lens, a zoom lens, make sure it has stabilization as well, so you won't get that tiny little bit of rocking and wobbly and shakiness that you may see in certain videos. Next is what lens you buy. As I just covered just a little bit of it in the previous what I was talking about, I'm gonna tell you what lens to buy. Not me personally, but I'm gonna guide you. Here's 3 things to look at when you're buying your lens. 1, what does it see? AKA your focal length. Is it a real estate lens, a wide angle lens, AKA 16 to 35? Is it a wedding lens? Is it like a portrait lens? Is it a 24 to 70/85? Is it a sports lens? Is it a zoom lens? Is it a telephoto lens? 70 to 200. So depending on what you want to shoot and where you're gonna be and how far you're gonna be from your said subject is gonna guide you into buying the said lens for your camera. Don't get me wrong. If you buy a camera that comes with the lens, the kit lens is a great thing, but it's not the best thing when you are starting to deep dive within that niche of yours. Buying a lens that's going to replace that kit lens and it's gonna correlate with your body, it's gonna bring you further within your journey in the long run than using the normal kit lens. Number 2, how well does it see it? Meaning sharpness and image quality. If you have a lens and your f-stop, which is f1/4, f1/6, f4/12, it's not a thing, right? But your f-stop is your aperture. That's how far the blades can open and or close, aka iris. I'm gonna go over that in another page. Can open or close to help you see something within focus. But the higher your aperture, the darker that it may be. The lower your aperture, the brighter it may be, but you can negate that with your ISO and also your shutter speed. Just playing around with your lenses and understanding what that's gonna be and what do you want. Sometimes I find it best to get one that doesn't have a set aperture where you can change the f-stop whenever you want. Sometimes it's a pro and a con. Brings you to the differences of cinema lenses to normal camera lenses. And 3, aka how much, I went over both of these at the same time just to give you an example or whatever. But 3, how much light is needed to see it, the aperture, right? The sharpness, the image quality, and aperture all ties into the same thing to me, because you need to understand each and every last one of those pieces to get the right sharpness on a picture, to get the right aperture or depth in the picture, to get the right bokeh, the blurred background. You know, my aperture right now is 4.0. I have an ISO of 160 and it's 1/40 shutter. I usually have it at 80, usually have it at 60, usually have it at 30. All depends what I'm having. At first clip, you seen the blinds was open, but it was a little bit blown out background because the sky is cloudy, but the aperture that I have it on is 4. If I darken anything else, it's gonna make me dark physically because I don't have said lights brightening me up. And that brings me back to using your surroundings to the best of your abilities. If you don't have any light sources, or if you don't have anything that can be able to light your subject properly. Now I closed the blinds on my side, but I kept some of the things the same, changed the shutter so I can still be brighter, while all of this still can be in focus while giving you this Hollywood documentary feel to it, because it's 24 frames instead of 30. 30 frames, you can see my hand moving and it won't be a little bit blurred between the fingers. Those 24 frames are how most Hollywood films are filmed, or cinematic movies filmed in general. They are recorded, edited, and exported at 24 frames per second. Please write that down. Soap operas, comedies, TV shows, the news, all of those things are filmed in 30 frames per second because it gives you this super soft, super realistic look, super high quality look that isn't cinematography, that isn't Hollywood ready within the film industry. That's just something that to keep in mind when you also are looking for a camera and or looking for a lens, and how you want to edit and or become a shooter / videographer. Last thing on this page I do want to go over is the lens, right? We talked about what kind of lens you want to get. I want to talk about why it is super important to have lenses and buy lenses over cameras. Lenses you can repurpose, you can resell. They won't lose their value as much as a camera would. If you look up the current camera you have, for example, my camera is an A6400. My camera price currently goes for around $600, $700 to $800, just the body and or with the kit lens. The original price of the camera was around $1,000 to $1,200. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower. Camera body loses value because better cameras in that brand comes out. Lenses don't lose value as much because lenses can be used on different said cameras. Full frame lenses, for example, especially full frame lenses, won't lose their value as much as an APS-C lens. My camera is a Sony a6400. It's an APS-C, meaning it's cropped. If I put a full frame lens on there, I won't be able to capture that entire full frame because my APS-C is only a portion of that full frame. But if I have a full frame camera with the full frame lens, my frame is gonna be bigger, my resolution and my quality is gonna be bigger, and the overall image is gonna look better because I have more megapixels to play with and bits of color while I'm editing. Sony is E-mount. When you are buying cameras, when you think you need a better camera, when all you need is a better lens, and then that may be your problem, do your research within the lens realm because it holds value better. So 5 years from now, when you want to get rid of that lens, you can still sell it for almost top dollar if you kept it in pristine condition, rather than your camera that loses its value because a better version of that camera came out, and you also have been using it over the course of 2 to 3 years, and you brought that shutter up high. Whether you want to be a normal camera filmer or cine filmer using cinema cameras and or cine lenses, that's something you're gonna have to look into yourself. I do have a pros and cons list of cine lenses and normal lenses. I'm gonna read those off to you. Then I'm gonna move over to filters that you can put on your camera lens to create an image to look differently. Differences between a photo and cine lens. Cine lens pros are coverage, they can cover more, focus breathing, focus throw is longer, focus marker, you can maintain focus consistently. Cine lenses uses T value over F value. How I was referring to our aperture as f-stop, they use t-stop. And what t-stop means is their electronic blades won't move. The iris within our camera have electronic blades that opens and closes, all depends when our aperture changes or our f-stop / t-stop changes. Their t-stop is if they want that same focus point, they want that same f-stop, they can change their f-stop, their focus, their t-stop, their aperture, and the blades won't move. And that brings me to the next point. It creates a smooth aperture. Camera lenses or photo lenses, right? They're all different shapes, sizes, and especially weight. Cine lenses are all the same size and same weight. Parfocal zoom, zooming in and out, the focus won't change. So if right now I'm focused on my eyes and or my mouth moving, if I zoom in, the focus won't blur out and try to focus again and lock focus or rack focus. Keep this terminology, write this down. A quick tip, a learning point. Rack focus is when I am far away and I zoom in close to something and it focuses on something different. And not only just in front, rack focus could be focusing on this and racking focus back here or up here. Put that in your notes. Parfocal zoom, focus won't change. So if it's zooming in on me, the focus of me won't change because cine lenses are very unique and it has tons of knobs, buttons, and switches and clicks to turn things and lock things into place. Photo Lens Pro. Autofocus, smaller and lighter. Price, photo and video use. Some cine lenses is on the bigger side. So hauling them around and or just storing them, they are on the bigger side. They may all be the same size and weight, so it won't mess up a gimbal or whatever the case may be, but they are preferably larger. Photo lenses, video lenses, they're smaller. You can store them easier, you can put them places or even in your pocket. The price is also going to be better on certain photo and video lenses. The most expensive cine lens versus the cheapest photo lens is almost around the same thing, so you might want to play with that to your own discretion. So, lens filters. What lens filter should you buy? The question is, do you even know what a lens filter is? Do you know what lens filters are? There are tons other filters out there, but here are 3 main ones that you should focus on and keep an eye out for because they can help you make or break a video or your game in general. You have UV, which is ultraviolet. It blocks UV light and reflections. You have ND, which is neutral density. It's for outdoor sunny shooting. You also have PL, which is a polarizer filter. It brings out color. The next segment that I learned about was what kind of microphone to buy. There are 4 kinds of microphones that you can buy, that you can learn about, and that's used for different things. For example, before I give you the 4, right now I am using a on-cam mic. What that means is I have a microphone that's sitting on my camera and it's plugged in by a cable, so the audio can sound a little bit better than the normal camera mic itself would sound. You also have a lav mic or a lavalier mic. Those mics are the ones you may see in people's videos, that it's a box here, or they like to put it on their hats to look cool. It has a transmitter to no matter where I go, how far I go, if I'm speaking into this mic, it's still gonna be received into the camera. Transmitter, receiver. A boom mic is something that you may not see in the shot, in the frame, in the video. Boom mics are what goes overhead in productions and or in high quality, high produced videos when they have somebody on set holding a large pole with like a scythe of a mic sticking down in the person's face. The coordination that these people have is outrageous. How can I film an action scene using a boom mic and making sure every single shot that tip of that mic isn't showing? They're talented individuals. Your typical podcast, your typical in-studio mic, or if you're a gamer, you know exactly what this is. The one that sits in front of you while you're speaking, while you are talking to an audience, while you are just in the camera, that is something that can be shown. It brings the aesthetic, and it also brings something within the frame, aka foreground. Write it down. Each one of those mics can be useful within their own said realms, certain ones over other ones, but it's up to you to determine what kind of shooter you're gonna be, so you know what one you're gonna buy. For example, if you wanna be a vlogger, you might wanna use the on-cam mic so you can portable it around and travel it around better. Or if you know your vlogs, you're gonna be super far away from your camera and you wanna walk away and create some talking scenes while you're walking past, you might wanna have a lavalier mic so you can speak into the camera. It can be 16 to 20 feet away from your camera and it still picks up your audio loud and clear. If you're gonna be a gamer, if you're gonna be a podcaster, you wanna use a shotgun mic so you can have that audio right crisp in front of your face. Don't wanna have it too close so it can pick up the the lip smacking, the spit. But you don't wanna have it too far where it sounds super echoey and sounds super like, can you turn me up please? I can't hear you. If you wanna create high quality videos, productions, anything along the movie lines, you might wanna use a boom mic. Boom mics are the things that hang overhead. You can also have one on the side. Boom mics are out of the frame that still picks up audio. You can use any mic for any scenario. You just have to tweak it to your own advantages. Not everybody have the financial resources to buy all of these things. So whatever you have available, please use that and get creative. If you lock yourself in your room for 24 to 48 hours, I best believe that you are going to be able to create something using your own creativity. The moment you step out into the world and you're corrupted by the social media norm of expensive is better, then that's when you lose all sense of creativity because you think you have to buy billion-dollar things to create billion-dollar things. Not correct. So rewind the video, write some of the tips down, take out what I'm taking out of it, because I am gonna teach you the things that I am learning so we all can progress. Technical 101 is gonna be the next topic I talk about. It's a little bit more technical. I'm gonna quickly go over that so you guys can understand the important parts of it, because every last part of it was important, but you guys might not have the time that I have to go watch and study these videos. So I am here to summarize and help you understand and go through it with me as well.
Hello, so it is a new day, and in this one, I am going to go over Technical 101. With Technical 101, there's a lot of stuff that I could talk to you about. I'm going to summarize the main points that I took out of it. So I'm going to flip the page, I'm going to put up a diagram and or a bracket or a list, and then I'm going to explain to you these logs, these bit profiles, and the stuff that I took out of it. I took a lot of stuff out of it, but I'm going to try to summarize it, okay? So, you don't know what you want to film in when you're filming certain things. So you may ask, what should I use? What should I shoot in? How should I film in? I'm gonna tell you a standard, log, and raw so you can understand what three of these are and so you can understand the type of shooter you wanna be. Standard, log, and raw are all different. Standard is 8-bit, log is 10-bit, raw is 12-bit. So here's the list. Write these down. These are gonna be very informative, okay? Standard, it's 8-bit. Easier to expose, easier to edit. Best colors out of camera, beginner friendly. best low light performance, small file size, meaning it's the smallest file size out of the other two, which is gonna allow you to export and save things a little bit quicker. A con with standard is gonna be not much flexibility within post-production coloring and color correction. More pressure dialing in camera settings, meaning if you wanna shoot straight out of the cam, there's gonna be more pressure for you to get your exposure, your ISO, your shutter speed, and all of the good things correct, because there's not much flexibility in post to correct those things if something is wrong. And the last kind is gonna be less filmic. It's like film / cinematography, cinema, however you wanna word that. What that means is when you are editing and you're trying to get these said colors and or put a log over it so you can grain out some things and or put some colors in to make it cinematic and or film kind of like, it's gonna be a little bit harder because the dynamic range of colors is it's the worst in standard. Although the end picture may be perfect and everything may come out smooth and great to the normal human eye, for more in-depth things, it's gonna be a little bit harder to pull those said colors out and or tweak things to give it that filmic look. On to the second one, log. This is 10-bit, more flexibility, more dynamic range, and it's more filmic. A con would be harder to expose in camera, more post-production work to bring those colors back. It's a little bit less friendly than standard, and it is a larger file size. So once you spend like an hour to 2 hours editing your video and you want to go export it, it's gonna take longer for it to be exported. And last but not least, the 12-bit RAW. You have maximum color flexibility, maximum dynamic range, maximum post flexibility. It's in its name. It alleviates the pressure to nail the settings because in RAW, the 12-bit, you don't have to have all your colors correct because there's more post flexibility and you can dial in those and pick more colors out of a 12-bit RAW camera. A con, although the pros may be great, a con is also just as great as a pro because it's its greatest weakness, or something along those superhero lines, right? It's a little bit trickier to expose in camera to avoid noise. Noise in a photo or video is the grain you see when you are trying to capture focus. It requires a lot of work in post-production. You're gonna spend a tad bit more time just to edit, just to put out a high quality video. A trade-off may be worth it if you have that said time, but if you don't, and you know you can still produce high quality videos and or images, then feel free to do what's best for you. This is also worse than low light performances, and it also has a very large file size. The thing with these three profiles is that most people want to master all three. You could be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Just because you are good at everything doesn't mean you are great at one of them things, right? So my suggestion would just to be master one, whether it's standard, whether it's log, or whether it's raw. Master one of those and become great in your craft, and I promise you, you will be able to produce high quality videos and you will be able to be seen by the vast majority of people that is standing on this earth or rolling in wheelchairs, because most people can't stand. It's a little humor if y'all have that. The next thing that was talked about in these courses that I personally might just make separate small videos on, they talked about resolution, they talked about file size, they talked about frame rate. They went super in depth about the exposure, the camera settings basically, exposure, ISO, shutter speed, etc., etc. But I will be making separate videos on all of these things so I can go super in depth so you can understand on the level of how I understand when I was going through the course. Codecs, bit rates, containers, all of that was explained. And just for a little tip, if you don't know what those are, codecs, bit rates, and containers are three things that makes up one video file. That's a tip for you. Best audio settings, mic placement, 5 steps to acoustically sound treat a room, because right now, in this entire room that I'm in, as you can see in the background, there is no sound panels on the wall to dampen my echoey voice. If I snap, let's see how long we hear this snap in the air before it goes away. It was 4 seconds. I'm counting 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000. It was 4 seconds before my snap vanquished from this sound, right? Do it again. And the reason why I know it's also 4 seconds is because in the other videos that I am going to make, I'm going to show you how to set your camera up to show you your audio levels and how to keep those in between -18 and -6 with the 6 to 14 inches away from your mic, your mouth. The reason for that is because it picks up the human audio the best it can without capturing all of these noises and it being, and then having it too far is gonna be super far and you're not gonna be able to hear me, and it's gonna be super echoey, and that's not a good thing. Histograms can be used for color profiles, color ranges, and it can also be used for nailing the exposure. And my favorite thing that I found out how I can use it for is also monitoring audio. They also showed us how to use glide cams and what a glide cam is, because if I'm being honest with you, I'd never heard of a glide cam a day in my life. Showed us gimbal movements, showed us handheld movements. Handheld moves is like for action shots, you know, and stuff like that. They showed us different types of ways to mount a tripod, and if we don't have a tripod, how we can personally hold our camera and use our surroundings to make our bodies seem like a tripod. Different cool angles of spinning a glide cam and or a gimbal around a person's subject and or vehicle or whatever, just to give cool effects. Those are all the basics that went over in Technical 101. There's another course in here that goes over lighting. That's gonna be after I do the real estate one. So next is gonna be real estate. After that, I'm gonna do lightning. And when lightning comes, the amount of videos that I'm gonna make for y'all, just so y'all can understand it, and so I can reiterate these things so it's in my mind more instead of watching and writing down, I'm actively creating. So you can understand and I can understand even better. Not than y'all, just better than what I actually initially understood. Thank y'all so much for watching this video, this documentary, and this journey that I am on with the mentors of mine. Thank y'all. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait for this journey. It's scary when you have an opportunity to do things, but it's also scarier when you don't believe in yourself and take that leap of faith. So no matter what, always follow your heart, always be true to yourself, always go with your gut and do what you know is best for you and what you can do to help yourself in the future. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all for watching this video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.